We've been here in Brussels, which is the headquarters of the European Union, for the last couple of days. And on top of that, we've had the opportunity to meet up with His Majesty the King, as well as the Prime Minister, and also an opportunity to meet up with the Belgian business community with a view of trying to improve our partnership between ourselves, Belgium, but more importantly, the European community, which is our biggest trading and investment partner. With the King, we have discussed issues ranging from trade to security, development cooperation. Kenya, as well, and Belgium have a history of cooperation and partnership that stems back to the early 60s and 70s. In recent years, these ties have been strengthened through trade between our countries, the volume which has risen significantly over the last few years, from about some 11 billion euro in 2004 to more than 20 billion today in 2015. Kenya has also been a beneficiary of Belgian generosity through various projects that have supported the development of our IT infrastructure and capacity, the education of our people, the strengthening of our renewable energy sector, and the development of our fishery sectors, amongst many other things. For the last 2 days really was just to provide us with a platform for us to build on an already very strong foundation of cooperation between our two countries, and we agreed to continue cooperating, especially in areas relating to climate change and infrastructure development, as we seek to even out the balance of trade between our two countries. Indeed, following my discussions with the two leaders, I also had an opportunity to carry on a very constructive dialogue with members of the Belgian business community, and I am looking forward to welcoming them to Kenya, where they have already been a total of 4 times over the last 3 years, to see how we can intensify that dialogue and interaction with them. Yesterday, as I said, we also attended the European Development Days conference that has been taking part here in Brussels. I had an opportunity to meet the Vice President of the European Commission. The European Union has undoubtedly been a strong supporter of trade, development, and security, not just in Kenya, but in Africa as a whole. And I look forward to Kenya continuing to be part of bolstering the relationship between our region, especially the East African region, and the European Union, which, as I stated, is our largest trading and investment as well as development partner. I am personally particularly encouraged by the unparalleled support that the European Union has given to Kenya also in the ongoing peace and stability mission in Somalia. 80% of the contributions to AMISOM come directly from the European Union, and I think that this is an area where we all have an undeniable vested interest in continuing cooperating together as we seek to secure our region. And on that note, I think it is important to point out a number of things about Kenya's position on the issue of Somali refugees. Kenya, which has with good reason been subject to so much international security on matters refugee. First, I think it is important for us to know that we already have a tripartite agreement to govern the repatriation of refugees. That is already in place, as much as it is about to expire. Kenya is just demanding that this tripartite must be executed with a clear time frame and timeline, so that the people who have been refugees can actually be integrated back into their local communities in Somalia, and to be able to continue with their lives and to have hope, dignity that cannot be given to them in a refugee camp. And we have agreed that we need to all work together to find a process of how we can establish the return of these people to their homes in a dignified and humanitarian manner. And we shall continue to work together with the European Union. We shall continue to work together with our international development partners. We shall continue to work together with the Somali government and the regional governments to ensure that this is done in the shortest possible time, so that our key focus with our Somali brothers and sisters can be on developing peace, stability, and prosperity for our common people in a secure environment which we need to provide. What we are trying to explain as Kenya is that Kenya is not shying away from her international obligations. Kenya recognizes her role in welcoming those who are running away from problems, and we shall continue to respect that position. But what Kenya is saying, especially with regard to the Dadaab camp issue, is that we now have over 23 years been hosting these people. These are people who have had an opportunity through UNHCR and other international partners to have been given an education. They've been born and grown up in those camps. But these are people now who are mature adults, who have no hope, who have nowhere to go, who have no further hope in life, because they are living in these camps. And we are basically trying to say, we must move the discussion from being merely about feeding people and hosting people to a scenario where we need to look at these people as human beings with ambitions, with hope, and with life, right? And we need to be able to create an environment for these people back in their home country, yeah, where these young people can exert their energies and their efforts to developing, building their country, fulfilling their ambitions, as opposed to living hopeless lives in camps. Because it is that hopelessness that is making them a breeding ground, yeah, for terrorists who then come and become a problem to the rest of the country. And so what we are saying is that we have no intention of moving these people in a manner that defies their dignity, that it defies their human rights, that defies or puts them in danger or endangers their lives. But we need the world to begin to recognize that we can no longer just continue sitting back and saying, okay, let these people continue living in camps because there's a problem in Somalia. We need together to tackle whatever the problem is in Somalia so that we can give hope and life back to these kids so that they can become positive developers of our region and the world, as opposed to becoming a negative force because they have lost the desire, the will, and the hope to live. And that is the theme.
Next. So I wanted to ask about we expected you to visit the port of Antwerp. And what was your reason for wanting to visit it, or if you've ever been there before? If you can.
I've been there before, and that's why I thought maybe I would be able to attend to other things and let some of the ministers and other officials also go, and hopefully you will also be able to go. And the main purpose is that Belgium as a country is a country where 80% of their GDP is export driven. This is where Kenya has a hope. This is where Kenya has a future. And we want to be able to learn and to benchmark from how they are doing it, because if our port was that much more efficient, we would be in a position to increase the GDP of our country just through Mombasa Port by an extra 1.5 percentage points. Now, 1.5 extra percentage points is thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs for our young people who are looking for placement and employment. And this is why we're saying we need to be able to get out of the traditional way that we think things and see how we can benchmark on people who have actually made a whole economy as a result of their port, as a result of using their port to develop and build their economy, right? And this is really the main purpose of that trip. The key with the European Union is the willingness and eagerness of the European Union to partner with us on the African continent as a whole, and Kenya specifically, in the implementation of the SDGs. The SDGs is our new a global arrangement that seeks to find a way of how we as global partners can partner together to eradicate poverty, to have a more inclusive society, to deal with environment, to deal with education, to deal with access to water, to deal with all the issues that actually affect and deal with human dignity and life, right? And to build on the successes of the Millennium Development Goals, while at the same time enhancing that particular objective, but this time through deeper and greater cooperation with all relevant partners and stakeholders, from governments to international development partners to NGOs, all of us working in a concerted effort to see how we can eradicate the ills and vices that have faced our globe in a much more concerted effort. And that really was the main theme of the conference that we attended yesterday. A recognition that no country, that no individual, that no continent alone can tackle these problems. It requires all of us working in a concerted effort to be able to deal and to tackle with these issues, that our resources need to be channeled jointly together, not through a talk down, but through a talking together to be able to see how we can resolve these issues. And really tying the linkages from the migration problems in Europe to the refugee problems in Kenya, and recognition that these are issues that have a common thread, and we need to really be able to think about all these issues in a much broader sense if we are to really tackle them properly. So I think that is one of the key takeaways, and I believe strongly that even as we move to the UNCTAD meeting, the theme will be basically the same. As we move to TICAD, the theme again will be precisely the same. The world agreeing that it is necessary for us to work together in partnership to deal with the problems of the globe. And Kenya is very proud of being at the center stage of that. As you know, even in the development of the SDGs, Kenya played a critical, pivotal role in achieving that through our mission in New York. And this is something that the world appreciates. So Kenya acknowledges her frontline role, and we will continue to play that role as we try and bring all global partners and players together to solve the problems that we are faced with. With regard to, then of course, Kenya specific, we have the road that I have told you that we are going to continue dealing with. We are working together again with the European Union to expand our renewable energy resources. That's another area of deeper cooperation that we have agreed to work together with both the EU in its development capacity, but also through the investment arm and the European Investment Bank, which already has its regional headquarters in Nairobi. So that is critical. I think also we have also agreed that on a bilateral basis between Kenya and Belgium that we will also intensify and deepen our partnership with them establishing themselves in Kenya, both helping us create jobs for our people, but also using Kenya as a launching pad to enter the greater East African region. Let me conclude by saying that I truly believe that Europe's enhanced support towards this end will go a long way to making the process smoother and to make the security of Somalia and Kenya that much more readily available. And indeed, I believe if we can secure our region, it is part and parcel of the process of securing the global community. And with that, I say I've also been accompanied by a couple of ministers who are also working with their counterparts and colleagues. We are concluding with the European Union a facility which hopefully will be signed very shortly to see how we can expand the road that enters Mombasa from Mariakani going into Mombasa, because For us, Mombasa is a key and critical entry point, not just to Kenya, but to the region. You all know the congestion that is there, and we are grateful for European Union support in this matter, and we hope to conclude that in the shortest possible time so that we are able to launch, open up Mombasa, and by opening up Mombasa, we are opening up Kenya, we are opening up the region, and we continue to be grateful for the European Union support in that endeavor.
As Jubilee Party leader, are you going to set a standard for what rhetoric is acceptable and not acceptable ahead of 2017?
I think I have made my position very clear that Kenyans have gone through a lot of difficulty over the, especially after the 2007 situation that led to a lot of loss of life, property, displacement of people. And I believe Kenyans made a very strong statement when we came to pass the 2010 Constitution, that Kenya will never go back to those difficult times. Now, whereas I uphold and continue to uphold the right, as I have said severally in the past, of protecting people's rights and people's freedoms. Those rights and freedoms cannot be at the expense of other people's rights and freedoms. Just like I have stated severally, if our colleagues wish to demonstrate, it is their right to demonstrate. Inform the police what time your demonstration is going to start or your picketing is going to start. Inform the police which route you are going to pass. Inform the police what time you expect that demonstration to end and where you expect to address your people, and the police will provide you protection for that whole process. But be peaceful and do not interfere with the rights of others, do not destroy property, and you shall be protected to fulfill your rights in accordance with our Constitution. But we shall not allow you to infringe on the rights of others. Equally, we will not say it, but it is true, and I will say it. We all know that the problems that we had in 2007 was not that the Kenyan people do not wish to live together in peace and harmony. But what happened is a result of insightful statements by politicians that led to clashes between communities, between people who live together as neighbors. And we have equally a clear law that states that hate speech and insightful statements cannot and will not be allowed. Statements that incite communities against each other, statements that incite Kenyans against each other, statements that instill fear or hate between communities will not be allowed. And my position is that those statements, be they coming from CORD, be they be coming from Jubilee, be they be coming from whoever, will not and shall not be entertained, and those who choose to walk that path will face the full force of the law. And that has been my position. It's not something new. I have stated it severally, and that shall be the way it will be, so long as I am president. I keep repeating, our problem is that we just have such short memories. Even a week, I think, for some of us is too long. I have always been saying clearly that I have never had a problem. And I challenge you to go back and look at your own tapes, going all the way back 2, even 3 months, your own, not mine. Don't ask my tapes. Go and look at your own. Right? Okay? Where I've always made it very clear, right, that I have no problem with the issues that are being raised by our friends. But they have always been insisting that this dialogue is between me and somebody else. And I have always told them, please, just go and take a look at our Constitution and the provisions provided therein on how to deal with these issues. Let us follow those provisions. Let us follow those provisions. For one reason or another, we have continued to say that that means that I am not willing to dialogue. Right? Here we are again, almost 2 months down the road, and what are we doing? We are dealing and resolving the issues within the provisions of the Constitution, like I said almost 2 months ago. All right? So I think all I'm basically trying to say is that we have a solution, yeah, to a lot of our problems if only we were to follow the rules, the laws, the Constitution that we have developed for ourselves. Right? We have a way forward to resolving this IBC stalemate, so long as we follow the rules and the provisions. There is no reason for us to be out there in the streets to achieve what the law and the Constitution has already given us. You know, people were saying, oh, but we go back to IBC. When we were going back to IPPG, people forget that the Constitution at that time had given the powers of appointment of commissioners to the then president. That was the situation. So there was need to negotiate with the president because he is the one who had the powers. Right? But this Constitution is very clear. The president doesn't have those powers. Right? And I have always said, let us engage one another, right, through the provisions of that Constitution, and we will get a solution. Right? And I believe that is precisely what is happening, you know, right now. Okay. Now, when we don't follow those procedures, when we now go and get our people also excited, right, because maybe some don't fully understand, and it looks like, oh, so-and-so is refusing to talk to so-and-so, so-and-so is refusing to talk to so-and-so. And that's why I said, look, for the sake of bringing Kenyans together, I'm willing to meet with my colleagues, right? But even as we meet with our colleagues, it is to me to bring the country together, but we can't engage in this particular subject because engagement has to be where it belongs, which is what is happening right now, all right? And I do hope that our colleagues will also, in good faith, because they are interacting now, at the level that they're supposed to be interacting, right? We'll sit down, create this committee, look into the issues, bring it to the floor of Parliament, and address the IEBC situation comprehensively to the satisfaction of all concerned, but most importantly, to the satisfaction of the 40 million Kenyans. And I, both as president and as an individual citizen of Kenya, will support whatever recommendations that they come up with, right, in order to be able to get a way forward. All right? Now, when it comes to this issue of loss of life, and this is why I'm saying, if again you want to demonstrate, you also have a responsibility of saying to your people, right, look, we want to demonstrate on IEBC. Take them through a process of what a demonstration means, and that's why we keep saying, notify the police, inform them where you're assembling, inform them where you're going to march, inform them where you're going to finish, tell your people, we are assembling here, don't go causing chaos, you know, as you move about. Because wherever you have seen an incident of problem, it is because supporters have gone out as they are going to attend a rally, either on their way there or on their way back, right? Pelleting Kondele police station. Now what does Kondele police station, you know, got to do with IEBC? All right? So what happens there? People then, the police are then forced in a situation where they have to react, all right? When you have a scenario, right, like happened in Migori, where prison officers who are transporting prisoners from police stations to courts of law are also attacked. And they, what do they have to do with IEBC, you know, demonstrations? And it is this kind of confusion that results sometimes in maybe actions being taken, right, that may create an impression, because then it's reported that it was part of the demonstration. But like I'm saying, what does the police, the prison van that was doing its normal business you know, when it is attacked, now with 2 officers and you're faced with 100 people, you know, this is where the problem, you know, occurs, you know. When Naivas supermarket is being stoned and looted, what are police supposed to do? Say, oh no, these are demonstrations, and yet the management and owners are saying, we are being looted, protect us because you police are supposed to be protecting. What does Naivas have to do with IEBC? So I'm saying that if we want to practice and to exercise those rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, then we also as leaders have a responsibility, yeah? If we want to exercise those rights, to also show our people how to exercise those rights without infringing on the rights of others. And if we were to do that, there would be perfect peace. And that is what happened, if you recall, in the last demonstration where they arranged their people and there was no problem, right? But at the same time, as much as there was no problem in where the court leadership was, as their supporters went home, yeah, you saw the destruction that was done on matatus in Huruma, you saw the destruction that was done to kiosk owners on their way home, you saw the... So all I'm saying is exercise your rights, but please also show your people that this is not combative. You know, once we have finished our demonstration against IEBC, let us disperse peacefully, right? And there will not be a problem. There will not be tension, right? So I just want to end this particular thing by saying freedom comes with responsibility, yeah? So you want to exercise your freedom, but you must exercise that freedom also in a responsible manner. If we were to do that as Kenyans, we would have peace, right? Nobody is being denied their right to exercise those freedoms, but we're just saying with freedom also comes responsibility.
This, the pipeline and the railway through from Mombasa to Malaba to Tororo to Kampala to Rwanda, if it were to be, what plans do you have in place to make up for that and still retain Kenya as the regional land?
I look at it differently.
Yes.
I look at it differently.
Yeah.
I don't look as if there is any threat.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Right?
Yeah.
I am actually quite excited,
Yeah.
by the way, that for the first time we are starting to see major projects interconnecting the region actually happening. And I have always said that my view of our region is a region not in competition with itself, but complementing each other with a view of competing with the rest of the world. I do not see the Central Corridor as a threat to our Northern Corridor. I don't see it actually as a threat at all. I actually believe that at some stage, right, looking at it in the future, yeah, that shall be the way that we will interconnect our total infrastructure, all right, and truly be able to link up the African continent, all right, and start focusing on intra-Africa trade, with us as a people focusing our efforts on areas where individual countries, you know, are stronger, and grow intra-Africa trade, which today, yeah, forms a very, very negligible component, yeah, of total trade that we do with the rest of the world. So to me, I have always said, let the Central Corridor be built. Let us continue focusing on the Northern Corridor. Let us focus also on building the lapset that links us up into Ethiopia and ultimately up towards Cairo. Yeah? This Central Corridor will link us down to Cape Town. Going up north, we will link up eventually through Central.
After 2002, how did you feel? You were on the ballot and
Yes.
then you came number 2, not number 1. How did you feel?
I felt happy that as a first timer I had done well. I felt disappointed, as of course anybody would feel, that I had lost. But I also felt it was my responsibility to accept that I had lost, and I did. And after that went back to regroup, to start my life again, because my life does not mean the beginning and the end of Kenya, no. Kenya comes first. Kenya is greater than anybody else. And I think my proudest moment was sitting with those that we campaigned with and agree that it was necessary for us to appear before Kenyans and accept and concede defeat. So that was was a proud moment. It was a sorry moment, but a proud moment. And yeah.
Mambo ya usalama. Siri ni nini? Siri imekuwa nini?
Siri ya usalama, siri ya uchumi, siri ya jamii, anything. Ni kupata watu ambao kwa dhati wapenda kufanya kazi pamoja. Mtu kujua ya kwamba hakuna mtu mmoja ambaye ako na suluhu